So I've always been interested in animals. I grew up pretty much on a farm, and I studied at some pretty good schools. But I think my biggest learning actually happened when I was doing things, and I was very lucky and fortunate to be able um, to follow things that I really wanted to do. Initially as a hobby, and then it became obsessions, and then it became a way of life for me. Um, in school, I think the biggest problem was that uh, I, like many other of my batchmates, thought differently, and unfortunately, school doesn't allow you to think very differently, and so I didn't do well in exams because the way I actually thought and the way I actually answered things was different. I'm much more of a doer than a sayer or a writer. Um, so um, so I think school did manage to damage my confidence a little bit, and it's gone into sundown. The school did manage to damage my confidence a little bit because I was constantly failing. Um, where, in my opinion, failing is when you give up. When you haven't succeeded at something and you give up. Otherwise, not succeeding at something is just a step towards succeeding at it. So, I think if you are interested in something, if you want to, it could be anything. It doesn't mean that you can't be interested in being a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer. Uh, but it needs to be something that uh, you truly love, things that you're willing to give the extra mile and the blood, sweat, and tears that go with actually succeeding at doing something that means a lot to you. Then it's perfectly fine doing that, and then you would need to follow the systems that are in place. The interesting part comes when you're interested in something that doesn't have a system in place. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means that you need to create a system or create a path or an avenue that you can follow. And the truth is, if you really like or really love doing something, you will find the way to do it. And in today's day and age, it's possible to do that with just about anything. Um, there might not be a job waiting for you. There might not be an office you can join, and you most probably won't start off with a salary or a stipend or an internship. Um, but there'll be some place or some person that you can find somewhere who can help you with various things along the way. So I think the important thing is to find what you really enjoy, without thinking about will this work for me in the long run. Would I be able to get a job? Is it safe? Is it secure? Um, if those are the things that matter most to you, then you'd probably have to go into an avenue that that exists. But if what matters most to you is actually doing what you really love, then you will have to take some risks and you will have to make some sacrifices. But the good news is it doesn't seem like a sacrifice because you're doing what you want. So I left home when I was about 17 or 18, and the only thing I'd always wanted to do for as long as I'd heard about him was work with Mr. Romulus Whittaker. So I left home. I dropped out of my 12th standard. I actually failed my 12th standard as well. I failed my 8th standard as well. And I went over to Rom Whittaker's place, and I worked as a slave. Pretty much did everything. I would get the coffee, run to get the Xeroxes, clean, fix the generator, all kinds of stuff. But I got to work with over 4,000 reptiles every day of my life, and I got to work with some of the greatest scientists in the world who I'd assist. And because I was assisting them, I I learned from them, and and that was my college. And I think I learned a lot faster without being judged from the beginning. And the good thing about that is feedback was immediate. If I made a mistake, I would get feedback from either the not succeeding at what I was doing or having people around me that would tell me that that's not working or I need to maybe rethink what I was doing. So, but no matter how hard I'd work, I was never really tired. I ended up with more I'm glad I did than I wish I had. And so at the end of the day, I just got a good night's sleep pretty much all the time. And it worked. Today I'm doing what I want to do, and I'm making a living from it, and I'm changing things around the place, and that's all I've ever wanted to do. Good luck.
Thank you, sir. Super.